Good morning and welcome to Education Full Instruction Committee. And this is not Monday, Tuesday, March the 7th. And Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Representatives Sapicki, Chisholm, Cochran, Darby, Dixie, Glenn, Hakeem, Hicks, Johnson, Leatherwood, McCalman, Reagan, Todd, Warner, White, Vice Chairman Raper, Chair Lady Moody. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. And as is our custom, we will start the morning by saying our pledge, and our Vice Chairman, after we do the pledge, will lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll wait on her. If you will, bow with me in prayer, please. Lord, thank you for all your blessings. They're undeserved, and you just keep blessing us over and over. Lord, everyone in here has a cross to bear. We have problems, and we just ask you to bring peace upon our life. Lord, we ask for discernment and wisdom on the decision makers in here. And what we do is hopefully to benefit students around the state of Tennessee, but ultimately glorify you. Lord, thank you for your Son and his grace and his mercy. And we ask all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Members, we'll go and see if there's any personal orders, but I would, if you don't mind if I start, we would like to welcome today. We have from Memphis Shelby County Schools, we have Superintendent Tony Williams and Board Member Stephanie Love, and they have a couple of other important folks with them, but would y'all mind standing up so we could see you and welcome you? It's always good to see you take time to come all the way up here. We appreciate you. Members, does anyone else have any personal orders? Yes, Chairman Sapicki.
Madam Chairman, real quickly, members, our goal is to close Education Instruction Sub today, final calendar today, and be done with that committee, close it out to call it a chair. However, as we get into this full committee, Madam Chairman, you and I have spoken, we want to continue the discussions we're having in education because Chairman White on his side is going to be a little bit busy doing other things. And so members, and I know we have Memphis sitting here right now, Madam Chairman, it'd be very good to have Memphis come up here and talk to us about the challenges that they face in Memphis educationally that we can hopefully help and listen to and gain a better understanding on. So if we could, Madam Chairman, make sure after this meeting we reach out to Memphis and see if we could have them come in and give us a presentation in our full committee on the challenges that they face. If that's okay, Madam Chairman.
I like the idea. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Sapicki. And actually, I met with Director Williams a number of months ago, and I also laid out that invitation. So we'd very much like to encourage that and find a time on y'all's calendar to do so. So thank you for reminding.
Yes, thank you. We will get back with you and work out that date. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to come. Any other personal orders or comments? All right, we got a great day planned ahead for these confirmations, so let's get started. There are 5 confirmations on our calendar today. And so first up, we have HJR 114 by Chairman White. I have a motion and second. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady Moody. Members, this is for confirmation for our State Textbook Commission. And I have the honor and privilege of recommending Mr. Daniel French, who holds a BS in History from Mississippi College and a JD from the University of Tennessee College of Law, where he was awarded the Tennessee Attorney General Award in Excellence in Litigation in 2006. After clerking for the Honorable Bernice B. Donald, the United States District Judge of Daniel joined the United States Army, the United States Attorney's Office, Western District of Tennessee, as an Assistant U.S. Attorney, where he conducted approximately 10 oral arguments before the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit. Currently, Mr. French serves as the lead counsel for the Federal Express Corporation FedEx employment litigation team between 2008 and 2012. Daniel was awarded the Special Achievement Award, the Distinguished Service Award, and the Spirit of Excellence Award by the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Tennessee. So quite great credentials. And so with that, Madam Chairman, move forward the confirmation.
Thank you, Chairman White. And members, we will go out of session to hear from Mr. French. And then if you have any questions, we'll do that after his comments. So we're out of session. Mr. French, will you please come forward? You may sit if that's where you're comfortable, or stand. Either way, it's up to you.
Whatever you prefer.
Sit down. We're all sitting. Please. And there is a button. A red light should come on. It looks like a mouth talking.
There we go. Can
Thank
you hear
you.
me?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the time to appear for your committee. It's an honor and a privilege. It's also an honor and a privilege, obviously, to be appointed by the governor and selected to serve on this important commission. I understand the responsibilities of the commission and have already gotten to participate in a couple of meetings so far, and have been very impressed by that. It's exciting to me to get back into public service, and this has afforded me that opportunity. I understand the important role that I play in representing the citizens of West Tennessee, but especially the children in West Tennessee and children throughout Tennessee. And I will take my role with this commission seriously and devote the time necessary to consider everything that comes before it, and to be open-minded and to carry out my duties faithfully. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for those comments, and we appreciate you offering yourself to serve. Members, does anyone have a question for Mr. French? Chairman Reagan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. French, thank you for being here and agreeing to accept this responsibility. I'm going to ask the same question of all, so heads up. Recently, actually, it's going to be 3 questions. Recently, in relative terms, Tennessee eliminated Common Core from our curriculum and instead opted for Tennessee standards. I need to ask you if you have any concept or idea of Common Core and why we eliminated that.
I do understand what Common Core is. I understand the concern being that Common Core had themes and theories within it that were not consistent with what Tennessee wants to teach. And I understand that those issues will come before the commission. And of course, with regards to the law, I will consider everything and make sure that I follow the law in carrying out my duties.
Follow up?
Yes, Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you. The next one is a related question. We recently passed into law something we call prohibited concepts, which were essentially Marxism concepts in disguise. Are you familiar with those, sir? And if you are, would you expound on what that is?
I am familiar with that. I assume you're referring to the recent law addressing what's commonly known as critical race theory, as well as other issues that have come up in the national conversation. As I can say again, I understand what the law is. Having participated in a couple of commission meetings thus far, I believe the members of that commission understand what the law is, and we will follow that to the letter.
Last follow-up, Madam Chair.
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you. And Mr. French, again, some difficult concepts, but we've had some complaints arise from various school districts across our state concerning what a number of parents have tagged as obscenity in relation to some textbook/library and extracurricular, wrong phrase there, extra instructional, as in pulled in from the internet and brought in by instructors, material that many parents thought was inappropriate for the age groups that was presented to. Are you familiar with that topic? And if so, how would you plan on handling that?
Yes, thank you for that question. I am familiar with the topic. The commission recently submitted guidance that is drafted regarding a process through which books can be reviewed and submitted for review. The Attorney General, I think, has rendered an opinion on that, which we're learning about this week, and we have a meeting on Friday to discuss that. So I am aware of the topic, and we will implement guidance under the law that will allow parents and students and guardians and educators to have a process to submit books they believe are not age appropriate or topic appropriate through an appeal process.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. French.
Thank you.
Again, welcome to the fray.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Next on the list is Chairman White.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. I was just wondering, since you're the lead counsel with FedEx, did you work with Chris Richardson during the time?
I actually did. When I was brought over from the U.S. Attorney's Office, it was to help with a criminal matter. FedEx had been indicted out in California by the U.S. Attorney out there related to internet pharmacy matters. And I was brought in, and Chris Richards was the general counsel, and I got to work with her closely on that matter.
Great. I'm sorry. I said Chris Richards. Chris Richards. She's also on our charter commission, serves on that and does a very capable job and has some good people. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be willing to sit on this commission. Thank you.
Representative Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here. I guess my question is in reference to, do you believe that we should be teaching factual history?
Absolutely.
Okay, and do you understand that we need to teach the whole history of America, and some of it's good and some of it's not so good, and we learn from our past, correct?
I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the other thing is that I wanted to, as a teacher of 27 years, I want to make sure that everybody understands teachers teach facts and not feelings. And so that factual history and those things are very critical. Thank you.
And Representative Hakeem, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Mr. French, for putting yourself up to be a part of this process. I want to ask you one question then, Madam Chair. I don't want to assume that I understand what each of these committees do. So if the attorney, after I ask my question, could give us a brief synopsis of what each of these committees do, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Mr. French, are you aware of CRT actually being taught in Tennessee schools?
With regards to critical race theory, I have two kids in public school in Germantown. As far as the curriculum that I've reviewed at this point, it appears that the curriculum in Tennessee so far is complying with the law that the legislature has passed. I'm only aware of what has come before me at this point on the commission, and we have not directly had to address that issue. So,
okay, all right. And part of, Madam Chair, my reason for asking for clarity on what the committees do, I guess I would want to sit in, if it's appropriate, on some of those meetings that you all have to get a better understanding of where the mindsets of commissioners are, and just being aware of that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Legal, will you give us those descriptions, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Katie Robertson, Office of Legal Services. The State Textbook and Instructional Materials Quality Commission reviews and approves textbooks and instructional materials that are used through the LEAs of the state.
Yes.
The second, well, we haven't discussed it yet, but the Standards Committee,
Will that be okay with you if we if she describes that when we get to that one.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you, sir. That completes the questions that we have for you, Mr. French. So thank you again for being here and answering us.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, members, we will move now to, let me go back in session. Excuse me. We will now be voting on sending HJR 114 to calendar and rules. Will you please signify by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, you will move on to calendar and rules. All right, next, we have HJR 189. You have a motion and a second by Representative Fritz. You are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman Committee. It's my great honor to introduce Dr. Chad Lewis. Dr. Lewis is part of the great Lenoir City school system and cutting paths and advancing learning in Loudoun County. I am proud to get to represent those folks. Mr. Lewis serves as assistant principal at Lenoir City Intermediate School. He's previously served at Lenoir City School System as a fourth grade social studies teacher and an eighth grade teacher in both social studies and English language arts, social studies academic coach, and a special education director. Prior to his work at Lenoir City, Dr. Lewis was sixth grade ELA and reading teacher at Loudoun County Schools, where he received the 2013 award for Loudoun County New Teacher of the Year. During that same time, he published academic article on social studies, which he later presented to the National Council for the Social Studies in Seattle. So I offer you Dr. Chad Lewis.
Thank you. And members, we will go out of session now to hear from Dr. Lewis. Try again. It looks like a mouth. I don't know how to describe that picture, but
How about now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis.
Madam Chairman, committee members, thank you for the opportunity to serve on this Standards Recommendation Committee. I think Representative Fritz pretty well encompassed my work background. Prior to that, I was a proud graduate of the University of Tennessee with a undergraduate degree in political science. So I have a passion for civics education, and all I ever really wanted to be was a social studies teacher. Obviously, my path has moved on since then. But again, I look forward to the opportunity to serve on this committee.
And thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. Members, I have Chairman Reagan on the list first. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as I warned you, question concerning your knowledge and philosophy on Common Core, please.
Yes, I believe the question was, I'm aware that that Tennessee has moved away from Common Core and has instead opted for Tennessee state standards. Again, I understand the reasoning for that. I think it's important for our work to adhere to the letter of the law, which is quite clear, and that is what I plan to do.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as, again, warned, prohibited concepts, would you please give us your outlook, philosophy, perspective on that, please?
Again, I'll just kind of echo what I said, not to repeat myself, but I think the law is clear, especially in terms of critical race and those sorts of things. I don't see evidence of those in the current Tennessee state standards, and again, our work on this committee, I plan to just adhere to the law.
Yes, Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you. And lastly, as was previously noted, a number of us have received complaints concerning materials that are available to children that are in our school system considered inappropriate, especially in relation to obscenity. What's your position on that?
Yeah, again, I know that the law has outlined a process for categorizing and cataloging personal libraries and school libraries as well. I think as we do our work on the Social Studies Recommendation Committee, it's just important to make sure that any materials that are referenced in those standards, again, adhere to the law as outlined in Tennessee Code Annotated.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. On the list next is Chairman Sapiki.
Thank you, and I'll ask this to all of the members coming up next. I have one question for you to make sure. One of the things I'm very concerned about is making sure that the standards that we have are grade level appropriate, right? That our students have the cognitive ability to grasp the subjects that our teachers are required to teach them. I would be opposed to taking standards that were in 5th grade and moving them to 3rd grade, making things extremely more difficult for our 3rd graders. I think everything has a time and place for developmental issues. With our developmental timestamps when children are able to cognitively absorb what they're trying to be taught. And so I would urge you, and hopefully you would respond, that you would make sure every effort would be maintained to make sure that, number one, the social studies standards that you'll be adopting are appropriate, and number two, that they are grade level appropriate with the cognitive ability of our students. Would you like to comment?
I would just be willing to say that I think it's important for standards to be rigorous. I think that's important for students, but also to be grade appropriate.
Yes, Chairman? You're finished? Okay, thank you. Representative Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question, I guess, will sort of be the same as well. But you did teach social studies, right? Is
Yes,
that what you
ma'am.
said? Okay. Did you ever teach CRT?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to make an assumption just from things that you said that you also believe in teaching factual history and not avoiding the hard parts. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it's important to teach the facts
Okay.
and stick to the facts.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, Representative Hakeem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could we have that definition in regards to the committee?
Yes. Legal, will you please read that for us? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Katie Robertson, Office of Legal Services. The Standards Recommendation Committee reviews standards for a particular subject matter and makes a final recommendation to the State Board of Education, which the State Board of Education then may adopt, reject, or make technical, non-substantive revisions to the standards recommended by the committee.
Yes, Representative.
Yes, ma'am. To the attorney, is it outside of a setting like this, is it appropriate for a state representative or administration to interject with this committee as to what they should be doing and what their guidelines are, interpreting it for them? Is that considered appropriate or inappropriate?
I believe that would be a procedure matter. And so that would be a referral to the clerk's office.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Representative Glenn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for coming. What's the definition of CRT?
I know what the definition is, how it is defined by Tennessee state law. I know what it prohibits being taught and what sort of concepts and, I guess, feelings that it encompasses.
Can you give me a couple examples?
For example, we're not supposed to, educators are not supposed to teach that inherently by their race or gender that they are somehow inferior or superior to any other sort of race, or that they should feel that way.
Yes, Representative Glenn.
And what is banning books? Is that, give me an example of a book that's been banned.
On the state level, I'm not sure I can point to a case where in a county nearby mine, the book mouse was banned.
Yes,
The
Representative.
book mouse, like a mouse that goes on the floor?
Yes, spelled M-A-U-S.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Chairman Sapicki. Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Lewis? All right, sir. We thank you so much for your time and coming before us and willingness to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, members, we will, we're going to go back into session. Okay, I'm sorry, I got distracted. Now, we are going to vote on sending, I was looking for the number, HJR 189 to calendar and rules. Do I have a motion and a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, HJR 189 goes forward to calendar and rules. Next up, we have HJR 190, presented by Chairman Cochran. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize. Chairman Hurt was supposed to be here to present this, and he got stuck in traffic. So you're getting a very cheap substitute with me, Mr. Powell. But I'm very honored to introduce Mr. Stephen Powell. He earned a bachelor's degree in history from Union University, his master's degree in divinity at Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary. He's taught a variety of social studies courses, grades 7 through 12, throughout Gibson County Special School District since 2010. Mr. Powell is currently a social studies teacher at Gibson County High School in Dyer, Tennessee, along with being an educator. He has also served as a member of the Tennessee Army National Guard for the past 16 years. Stephen currently serves as the battalion chaplain for the 230th Engineer Battalion in Trenton, Tennessee. Stephen and his wife, Amy, also an educator, reside with their 3 children in Dyer, Tennessee, and look forward to hearing more from him here in just a minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Cochran. So, members, we're going to go out of session so we can hear from Mr. Powell. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
There you go.
I want to say it's an honor and a privilege to be here on this committee. I'm a lowly, humble social studies teacher, and so to be selected to serve here is an honor and a privilege. I'm invested, obviously, in students in Tennessee, and I love my state and my country, and so I want to do what's best for those students who live in my district. And so I'm proud to represent my district as well, being here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You may proceed if you have a statement.
That was it? Did
All
I jump
right.
the gun on that?
Well, no.
I'm sorry. I'm
No.
sorry.
I just wanted to make sure we heard
That's
everything
it.
you
Yes,
wanted to
ma'am.
say. No, thank you. All right, members, any questions for Mr. Powell? Yeah. Can you believe it? It's Chairman Reagan again. He's true to his word. No, thank you, Chairman Reagan. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as I said before, I'd like to get your input, your thoughts, your philosophy, your perspective on Common Core, please.
Yes, sir. Again, we teach the standards that the legislature passed, so I know that there were some issues with Common Core with the citizens of Tennessee, and the legislature made appropriate actions according to what the citizens wanted. And so, again, as a classroom teacher, I teach the standards that the legislature has passed and set forth.
Chairman?
Follow up, thank you. Likewise, a similar question on prohibited concepts. Are you familiar with that? That's in Title 49.
Yes, sir, vaguely familiar. I'll be honest with you, I teach in a very rural Northwest Tennessee community, so these concepts are not going to be some that I'm going to be familiar with in my classrooms.
Are you familiar with what they are?
But yes,
Excuse
sir,
me,
I am.
Madam Chair.
That's fine, Chairman.
And again, follow up, please, and related to that. If you're familiar with those in your duties, how are you going, if you're not familiar with them from your classroom, how are you going to be executing your duties with them?
Yes, so let me clarify that. So I'm familiar with what you're talking about, but as far as what we do in the classroom where I'm at, those things are we typically don't see those things. But as far as prohibited things, again, I go with, what's going to be appropriate for the standards that we're teaching, and that's what the standards are going to set forth that we teach that the legislature passes.
Thank you. One last question, Madam Chair. As I've asked the others, again, we've received a number of complaints across the state from parents concerning material in classrooms that parents judge to be obscene and inappropriate for the age groups. What's your philosophies and thoughts on that?
Again, we're going to follow what the standards say for us to teach that are appropriate for that grade band or level for those standards.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. On our list, we have Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. It's nice to see another educator. So I'm going to ask my same question. Well, first of all, since you taught, did you ever teach CRT? I think you sort of answered that before, but
no, ma'am. No, not to my knowledge. No.
Yeah. It's not in the curriculum, so I'm glad to hear that. Also, I'm sure that you believe in teaching factual history, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I believe history is full of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But that's the great thing about America is that we learn from our mistakes and we move forward and we do better.
Absolutely. I am confused by your statement that you don't teach any of that. What were you referring
I'm sorry
to?
To clarify again. So he was referring to some of that prohibited stuff is in CRT. And so what I was saying was I'm not familiar with any of that happens in my district or anything like that. So I'm familiar with the concept of what he's talking about.
And I'm sure that you teach history, including, African American history and those things, and their discussions in your classroom.
Right.
And
yes, and all those standards are embedded all those topics are embedded in the standards. What he was referring to, I think, or what I think he was referring to was the concept of CRT in schools, which I was saying I'm not familiar with any teaching of those lines that go along with my district.
No Tennessee teachers are. Thank you.
Chairman Sapicki, you're recognized.
Same question I asked before about grade level appropriateness, et cetera. You are aware of being a teacher. You understand about cognitive development of students and the ability to grasp more complex issues and more complex subjects and to be able to interact with the teacher. So I'm assuming moving forward that you would make sure to your best ability that the standards meet those criteria and they are grade level appropriate, correct?
Yes, sir. I have 3 children who are all in school as well, so I want them to get the appropriate level of instruction and standards that they need to get. Yes, sir.
Thank you
Absolutely.
very much. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Any members have a question? All right. Well, thank you so much, and we appreciate again your willingness to serve and to be before us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll back in session. All those in favor of sending HJR 190 to Calendar and Rules, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the noes have it. No, just seeing if you're paying attention. All right, y'all pass. Okay. All right, we need to reconsider our actions. Yes, I have a motion to reconsider our actions. And HJR 190, sending it to Calendar and Rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Hearing none. Okay, we can reconsider our actions. I've never messed up like that before. Thank you all. Okay, now we can reconsider our actions in sending HJR 190 to Calendar and Rules. And please signify. Second. We have a motion and a second. So, all in favor of sending HJR 190 to Calendar and Rules, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it. You move on to Calendar and Rules. All right. Now, thank you, members. We'll go out of session again. Oh, I skipped right over it. Next up, we have HJR 191 by Representative McCalman. All right, we have a motion and a second. Representative McCalman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm used to being skipped over. Members, I have the honor and the privilege to both introduce and recommend Miss Ashley Flood. She is a constituent of mine in beautiful eastern Williamson County. Ms. Flood has a master's in history from Randolph-Macon College and a master's in geography with an education emphasis from the University of Oregon. She's got extensive knowledge in multiple fields related to social studies. She's worked as a history and geography teacher at Franklin High School, where the governor graduated from, for 10 years before taking on the job of digital learning designer for Williamson County Schools. Over the past 10 years, Ashley has presented the Tennessee Council for Social Studies, served as a social studies subject matter expert for the Tennessee Department of Education, and as a member of the State Standards Educator Committee. She's written courses for online social studies classes. She's sponsored the YMCA, excuse me, Model UN and Youth in Government clubs, and won the Tom and Stella Mullaney Geography Teacher of the Year Award. And with that, I would appreciate a recommendation.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And so, members, we will go out of session to hear from Ms. Flood. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Again, my name is Ashley Flood, and it's an honor to be here today. I got into education because I'm passionate about serving my community and serving my state as well, and that's why I'm here, is in that mindset to serve and represent the citizens of the state of Tennessee. I am passionate about civics engagement and education, sponsoring the Youth in Government Club at Franklin High School for several years, and committed to supporting our teachers, because I know it's a tough role, having been a social studies teacher for over 10 years, and I have the privilege of serving and working with educators in Williamson County, as well as across the state through the Department of Education and through the Tennessee Geographic Alliance, and I'm excited to serve in this capacity as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Members, are there any questions for Ms. Flood? Chairman Reagan, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Flood, thank you for being here and putting yourself forward to do this job. I'm going to ask you the same series of questions that I've asked others. First off, your awareness and of Common Core and your perspectives, philosophies on that, how you intend to handle it.
Yes, as part of the Educator Review Committee during the last cycle of standards, we were committed to having Tennessee standards, to following the letter of the law, wanting rigorous and relevant standards for our students. And I understand why we wanted our Tennessee state standards, and I'm committed to that as well in this role.
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The follow-up is, again, related, same type question as far as prohibited concepts are concerned.
Yes, I'm familiar with the law, and in addition to the Educator Review Committee's feedback, we will also be closely looking at all of those to make sure that we follow the letter of the law in those circumstances.
Chairman Reagan.
And again, relative to age appropriateness in terms of presentation for students, and particularly in terms of obscenity.
Yes, I'm familiar with that. With the Standards Review Committee, we're focused on the standards, the facts, and we'll make sure that any primary sources or documents are age appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, Chairman Sapicki.
Same question, grade level appropriateness for our students and making sure that the standards meet all the expectations that you are. Could you just comment on that real quick?
Yes, I'm committed to that, developmentally appropriate standards.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, any other questions, members? All right, seeing none, we're back in session. All those in favor of sending HJR 191 to calendar and rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, we will move you on to calendar and rules. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. All right, members, last we have HJR 192, Representative Vital. You are recognized. You have a motion and a second. So, members, we will go out of, wait, jumping ahead. Representative Vita, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Members, thank you for accommodating me. I had a bill in commerce, and so I was running a little late. But in no way does this reflect on the honor I have this morning of introducing one of the great citizens of Hamilton County. Dr. Linda Moss Mines was appointed by Governor Bill Lee to serve on the Standards Recommendation Committee for Science and Social Studies, and she is a perfect fit for the job. Dr. Mines is a retired historian, educator, and community volunteer who has taught for 45 years. The last 27 served as the chairman of the history department at Girls Preparatory School in Chattanooga. I've seen the value and the joy that she instills in students since she taught two of my nieces for 4 years at GPS, and their love for history continues, even though they continued pursuits in other professions. She has taught senior level AP U.S. History, AP Government, AP European History, Politics, Constitutional Law. She earned a BS and an MA at Tennessee Tech and her doctorate degree at the University of Tennessee. She is the official historian of Hamilton County, and so she is the lady we go to for all things when we're trying to verify who's buried in that grave. But let me just say she's a beloved member of our community, a personal friend, and my mom, who is 93, and many of you know my mom, I told her this morning that I was representing Dr. Mines this morning, and she said, well, you better tell them she's a good one. So that's all I can say. She's a good one, and her background, and I'm sure she'll answer any questions, but she is a great asset to Tennessee. Thank you.
Thank you for that great introduction. Members, we will go out of session. What?
Before you go.
I'm sorry. Pardon me.
All right.
Representative Hakeem, I missed that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I have to concur with my colleagues' comments in regards to Ms. Linda Moss Mines. She is the prototypical community servant, both as a volunteer and in the area of education. She is the person we go to on many subjects. She is one of those people that we look forward to listening to because of her accuracy, her willingness to share that knowledge and understanding she has with the general community. And thank you so much for putting yourself up to be a part of this committee. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So a double recommendation. Come on up. We will go out of session to hear from Ms. Moss Mines.
Thank you, and thank you, Representative Vital and Representative Hakeem, Madam Chairwoman, and the committee. I have to admit, I am a historian, but I'm also a writer, so I wrote my notes so that historians sometimes go long-winded, and I figured this way I could control the time frame. I'm Linda Moss Mines, and I'm a historian who has spent the last 51 years sharing the stories of this nation and its revolutionary government, the idea that a republic could exist governed by the will of the people. I'm an 8th-generation Tennessean who grew up with the stories of my ancestors at Watauga, in the state of Franklin, and aboard the Donaldson Flatboat expedition to Fort Nashboro. I'm a daughter of the Upper Cumberland who has lived in Chattanooga for the last 4 decades. The history lessons that I learned from my family were supplemented by degrees that allowed me to dig deeply into the promise of this noble experiment: liberty, equality, justice, and humanity. There are bright and shining moments in our nation's history, and there are moments that give us pause. But exploring our history allows us to reflect on that past as we work in the present to change the future. My passion is indeed education, and I know that the future of this nation depends on informed, engaged citizens, and I'm committed to that educational process. I began teaching in White County, Tennessee at age 19, and I've learned that the tapestry of this nation's story, our founding documents, the leaders who've inspired us to be the better angels of our nature, each of those stories moves us closer to that vision of the shining city on the hill. We are indeed the beacon of freedom that still shines around the world. I'm a teacher, and I truly believe that education is the key to the dreams that we hold for our children, that I hold for my grandchildren. There's a lot of work to be done, but volunteers in this state have never shied away from the burden of extending freedom and opportunity at home or around the world. Opening the door to the future of our youngest citizens is the necessary and right task before us. Excellence in teaching the standards established, tied to the statutes written by the legislature, which is the constitutional voice of the people, will be my goal as a member of the committee, if appointed and confirmed. I am thankful that you are giving me an opportunity to speak and be considered as a part of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate your comments and being willing to serve us. We will, I'm sorry, I recognize Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Mize, thank you for being here, and thank you for stepping forward to shoulder the responsibility. I'm going to ask the same series of questions you've heard before. Please give us your perspectives, your thoughts on Common Core, where it belongs.
I understand the reasoning for moving away from Common Core and being tied to standards that support factual education, and I am committed to adhering to the guidance that the legislature has provided for us.
Yes, Chairman, you're recognized.
Follow up again in relation to the prohibited concepts that are in Title 49. Can you give us your thoughts and perspectives on that?
Again, as a teacher, my responsibility always, whether it was while I was an employed teacher or now as a volunteer teacher who travels across the state, is to adhere to the standards that have been set forward that are factual, and that is what I will do.
Thank
Chairman
you.
Reagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the last question is related to, again, the complaints that have been coming across my desk and several of us in here concerning the lack of age appropriateness in certain materials put in front of our children, specifically related to obscenity. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I feel very strongly the rights of parents to be the guidance in their students' lives, and the legislature has responded with a process in which people can complain or can advocate for a look at certain literature, and I would certainly follow those standards.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Chairman Sapicki.
Same question about grade level appropriateness of our standards and making sure we don't get too complex too quick with our students. Your thoughts on that?
I agree wholeheartedly. If our goal as educators is always to prepare students for college or the workforce for a life where they are allowed to be engaged, it's important that they move along at the appropriate pace and they not be forced to do critical thinking at an age where that is cerebrally not in their way.
Thank you. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here. Just something that pinged when you all were talking about the book situation. I also believe that parents have a right to determine what books their children read.
Right.
However, I don't believe parents have a right to determine what every child in the county or the school reads. So,
I agree. There is a process, and the process should be followed.
okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no further questions. Anybody say something? Okay. Seeing no further questions, we're back in session. And we will now be voting on sending HJR 192 to Calendar and Rules. Will you please signify by saying aye if you're in favor? And any opposed? All right. Seeing none, we will... Thank you. The ayes have it, and HJR 192 goes to Calendar and Rules. Seeing back in session, seeing no further business, members, we're finished for the day. We have a motion to adjourn without objection. We will see you next week, 9 o'clock, and thank you all for being here.